Guys, it's Rudy here from, you probably recognize me from the 1,000 Mile Challenge, but I'm not here to talk about that today yet. I'm here to talk to you about New Brunswick and snowmobiling, and the purpose of this video is, where does your trail pass money go? And the reason I'm doing this video is because I think it's quite misunderstood, because I misunderstood probably 3 or 4 years ago. I had no idea what happened with that. I just assumed that when I went to Service New Brunswick, that's where my money went. The government took it, and we all hate the government, so we instantly don't want to give them money, but we want a snowmobile. So here we are. I'm going to make this little video. I've done some homework, and I'm going to explain what happens when you go to Service New Brunswick and you pay for your trail passes. I have 3 snowmobiles and that go on the trail. I'll be paying $500-600 worth of trail passes this year. I gladly pay every single year. Because it makes the trails awesome, and we have to pool our money together to make that happen and get anywhere in the province. So I'm going to start with anything that happens before December 15th. We have an early pass for certain models. We go to Service New Brunswick with our wallets, and we pay Service New Brunswick for a trail pass. So we'll say $300 for a trail pass. Later model. I'm not sure what the prices are. I think they're $330. I'll have to look into it. So let's just use $300. I go to Service New Brunswick. I pay them $300, and they give me a sheet, 3 sheets, press hard on all the copies, and I choose my club in there. Why do you choose the club? Well, there's a reason for that, and I'll get to that. So the money goes to Service New Brunswick, who is only there to collect the money. They take $3 to do that transaction. That's a pretty sweet deal for someone to have a place you can go collect your money. From there, they send that money to, we keep saying the Federation, but it's Snowmobile Moto Neige New Brunswick. So that is the is a non-profit business, is what the Federation is, and we're going to call it the Federation because it's easier. Excuse me. So the government doesn't actually collect that money. They collect the money, but they just funnel it through. 15% of that sale of a trail pass does go to HST. So there's that, but that's, that happens everywhere. So the New Brunswick Federation Snowmobile Clubs, the Federation Snowmobile NB, Moto Neige New Brunswick gets your, whatever's left over, say $250. Where does it go from there? How does it get into the groomers' fuel tanks? So I'm just going to look at my notes here. So there's a few folks that work at the Federation that are paid. Zone directors are not paid. I believe the only ones who are paid are the executive director, the trail manager. There's a social media person, office manager, and there's a new secretary this year. So combined, they do get a salary, and they do have expenses. So historically, we've collected about $5 million from snowmobile pass sales in the province, and that $5 million goes to the Federation, and then the Federation will distribute that to the snowmobile clubs after they take their salaries. And also, there's other things in there. There's our insurance. We pay about $175,000 a year for insurance. So Kane Insurance insures the province. So if if something happens on the trails and there's lawsuits, or someone runs their snowmobile into a paper mill and the whole thing catches fire, then it should be covered. We're hoping. I don't know. That's worst case scenario. Quite an accident. Anyway, so that money ends up going back to the clubs. It's about $4 million that make it back to the snowmobile clubs. Now, as a business person, that doesn't seem like a lot of money, to be honest. If I've got 50 snowmobile clubs and I've got to put fuel in the groomers, I've got to pay for the groomers. Some of them will pay for their groomer operators. Some of them don't. It's volunteer. I get it both ways. I'm not taking a side or whatnot. Excuse me. So $5 million, or I guess $4 million for 50 clubs isn't a whole lot of money. And so what happens is a lot of clubs will do fundraisers in order to prop up their individual clubs, and I'll get to that in a minute. So $4 million goes out to the clubs. How does a club get a certain amount of money? So there's a formula that's used, and it's based on members of the club. So how to become a member of the club? Well, when you put on your trail pass sheet, when you're at Service to Brunswick, sitting in the lineup waiting for the little dinger to come, that's when you pick your club. There's a little map on the back. I use Club 11, the Armucto River Valley Snowmobile Club. I use their trails the most. They're the ones in my backyard. So the reason you do that is because it should allocate funds towards that club. So would I put money towards a club that I don't ride? I've never rode in Fundy. I want to, but why would I put a club there when I don't ride there, I guess? So it's based on members, and it's also based on the number of groomer hours. So some clubs might have 3 groomers. Excuse me. And with the 3 groomers, they'll there's an hour meter on each one of them when they're running, and they take groomer hours versus the number of members of the club, and they come up with a formula. So on average, if you take $4 million and divide it by 50 clubs, it's $80,000 that comes from the federation down to the clubs. Now, some clubs, like say Nipisiguit, would get double that because of the number of grooming hours that they do, versus someone down in St. John who wouldn't get that much at all. So might get $40,000 to that. So on average, a club should bring in about $80,000. So each club is a nonprofit business, and they're responsible for their groomer, maintenance on the groomer, the insurances, stuff like that. So just for reference, a new piston bully, that's the red groomers that you see on the trail. They're a popular machine. They're going for about $420,000. So if you're getting $80,000 a year and you've got to fuel that thing, it's a lot. So what'll happen is you'll see clubs out there doing fundraisers, which I think is cool. It's a way to get dollars direct to the club without funneling it through any type of management or whatnot. So you'll see clubs doing let's see what did I write down. I wrote them down here. The Grand Lake Snow Cruisers, for example, they have a big poker run where you have all the big boats and stuff. That happened, I think it was in August. So they're collecting a bunch of money for that with that poker run. Poker runs in the wintertime. Sometimes they go and sometimes they don't, depending on the weather. There's a gala in Woodstock that one of the clubs do that brings in quite a few funds for their club. Snowmobile raffles, it seems to be a big one. There's guys out there raffling tractors, snowmobiles, all fundraising. Chase the Ace, another big one. They're bringing money in for their individual clubs. So now they can get a better groomer, or they can put more money into mulching the trail sides. And most of these clubs aren't paying their groomer operators or out there. I used to do this a lot. My father was the president for a while of the club and then trail manager, and we were out there doing a lot of, I just remember throwing brush as a kid, steady, just cutting new trails and whatnot. These guys aren't getting paid. That money's going towards fuel and equipment costs. So in modern day, brush throwing is a mulcher, which it's easier on the back for sure. So the clubs are collecting money that way to augment what they're getting from snowmobile trail passes. So what else did I want to talk about here? Paid positions, we talked about that. Excuse me, getting a little cold here or something. Insurances, we talked about how money is allocated towards the clubs. There are a couple let's talk about the government, how the government is involved in what we're doing. There is some money that's pitched in through Tourism New Brunswick and or Explore NB or whatever they're calling it now. So they do subsidize some of the grooming. From what I've learned, I think that the government could pitch in a little bit more, because I know when I go somewhere snowmobiling, if I'm on a 4-day trip, it's $1,000. I hope my wife doesn't listen to this video, but it really is. If nothing breaks, you've got to eat, you got to get your fuel, your oil. You might want to, if you're driving a truck somewhere and you're splitting costs with somebody, it's a lot. And everything that we're buying, they're taking 15% off of. So I know with the 1,000-mile challenge, it was tens of thousands of dollars that came in from out of province for that. Like I've done the math on that. Snowmobilers bleed money, that. So anyway, the government does pitch in through a little bit of subsidization of the groomers. They do have some groomers, some piston bullies in Mount Carlton that is owned by the government, 100% funded by the government. I know there's some controversy around how they're operated, and the Candy Cane trails or the North Pole, whatever, the Christmas Mountain trails, people aren't always happy with the condition of them, where our tax dollars are buying brand new groomers and they're not being run, or they're being used for other things, which we'll get to in another video. Those who are watching just cringed. Don't worry, it's coming. So that I don't know enough about what's going on in the Christmas Mountains with the government groomers. I just know that people aren't happy with the amount of grooming that's happening. So those are managed, or they're taking direction from the trail manager at the Federation. So as far as the government being involved in what we're doing in snowmobiling in New Brunswick, all they're doing is collecting taxes. They're subsidizing some groomers, and they own 2 or 3 groomers at Mount Carlton. And they also lease us. They give us a crown lease to use crown lands. So, and that's managed through the Federation. Would be the trail manager, I believe, at the Federation. So. Let's see what else I've got to talk about. If there's any questions, put them in below, because I would love to learn this stuff. I was ignorant to it, at one point, where you just assume the government's taking your money and mismanaging it, but it might not be the government mismanaging. But anyways, it's interesting to know this. So I see comments online, and the first knee-jerk reaction to any negative things about the government or the Federation or people, what it does is the first reaction is, we're not buying trail passes, okay? And that's not cool, because the clubs, who I'm a big fan of, the clubs are the boots on the ground. These are the guys that are making a difference. In the same way with any organization, it's the boots on the ground that are getting things done. It's your blue collar guys, the guys with dirty hands, and that's where, they're only getting a portion of it, but it is suffering. At one point, we used to be able to buy our trail passes directly from the clubs, and then the Federation ended up, I get that, the pyramid was reversed, and now it's, or it was one way, and now it's been reversed. And it should work. Everything should work. But anyway, I don't think that's a good option for people. I think that if we're not buying trail passes, and I know our trail passes are more money compared to, say, Maine, but you know what, they have a lot more people. They're selling a lot more stuff, or they're selling a lot more passes. They've got the entire country coming to Maine to snowmobile, and there's reasons for that, why trail passes are cheaper. $5 million, it's not a lot of money at the end of the day, and $4 million coming down to the clubs, it's really not a huge amount of money. So kudos to the clubs for putting on these fundraisers and getting stuff done. One thing I did want to mention, are your groomer operators paid? I think I kind of touched on that. Some clubs will pay their groomers, some will not. Some of these guys are doing like 16-hour trips, guys, and there's going to be guys that whine about that. I'm not taking a side on that. I can agree both ways, so I'll take the political approach on that one. What else? There was something that I wanted to mention. Bear with me, folks. I think it was related to government again. Oh, well, it could have been that important if I can't remember it. So, yeah, anyway, I hope this sheds some light on what's happening with your trail pass money, and where it's going, and what happens if we don't buy trail passes. We're just going to be running pipelines and power lines and whatnot. And obviously there does have to be some type of management that coordinates this with the clubs and whatnot. So anyway, I hope this helps out for you guys. I wish there was one thing that I had in my mind. It's not on here, I guess. Anyways, share this video around if you want, and I'm going to have some other ones out that are going to be probably considered drama, but I think it's important to people to know what's going on with some of our dollars. And anyway, I just thought I would put this video out because it is trail pass buying season, and I am looking forward to it. Oh, I know what it was. I remember now. Last year we didn't get any snow. It sucked last year, right? The only guys that had snow was like from the four corners at Smith Forks, sorry, and north, and even then it was a lot of the year. So what happened to that money? Like, how come we don't have $8 million in our bank accounts right now? So we should have like super groom in this year, right? Because we didn't groom last year. So I asked this question to someone who might know, and technically, yes, we should have some more money in the bank because we didn't spend it on fuel, and maintenance costs would be less. So, but there's still the fixed costs. You know, it's like us buying a trail pass. It's a fixed cost of snowmobiling. But we didn't blow 14 belts this year. We only blew 10 because we didn't snowmobile as much. If you're on 1100 turbo, sorry boys, I'm a cat guy, but they suck belts and you know it. So the fixed costs were still there. Insurance, groomer payments. Some of the clubs have payments on brand new groomers. That was all there. That all has to be paid for. Yes, we didn't spend as much money in fuel. Will it screw up the formula where, say, Moose Valley did a lot more grooming than my Armucto club? Yeah, probably. It's a 5-year rolling average on that. So in 5 years, if that trends towards them always grooming more than we do down here, and given the club members would be the same, then yeah, they would end up with more dollars. But they're grooming more, so I get that. There's some guys that look at that as unfair, and I'm gonna go to Moose Valley where the snow is, right? I've got snowmobiles, I want to use them. And if I can travel 3 hours to do it, I'll do that. So there should be some money left over because we didn't invest as much into trail maintenance, not maintenance, but trail grooming as we did last year. So anyway, that was the question I was thinking about. This video is 16 minutes long. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Have a good day.